Welcome to Stick to Sports. I'm Zach Malamud.
And I'm Joey Platsky. Today, the World Series heads to Philadelphia. Ohio State and Tennessee make their case for the #1 spot. And we break down the first week of the NBA regular season.
Roll it. With the World Series deadlocked at 1 apiece, the series now shifts to Philadelphia. The Philadelphia Phillies erased a 5-0 deficit in Game 1 to win 6-5 in extras thanks to a JT Realmuto homer. The Houston Astros responded immediately the night after with a 3-run first inning en route to a 5-2 Game 2 win. The series now heads to Philadelphia, where the Phillies are 5-0 this postseason. It is 7-0 Phillies in Game 3 right now. Joey, what are your expectations as the series moves to the city of brotherly love?
Zach, the Phillies at home this postseason are hitting a home run every 11 at-bats. The guys they have in the middle of this lineup have been mashing. What you have with Realmuto, Hoskins, Schwarber, Bryce Harper. I mean, you see the pitching matchups there. Called it going into tonight. McCullers versus Suarez was going to be a bit of a slugfest. McCullers got knocked around pretty well. Verlander versus Syndergaard is going to be an interesting matchup. A couple of veteran guys, a lot of postseason experience. Javier Nola is a big question mark, but again, with all three of these games being in Philadelphia, you got to give the edge to the Phillies. Citizens Bank Park has been rocking all postseason. These guys have been hitting the ball so well the entire time, especially at home. Got to give the edge to the Phillies, especially in games 3 through 5.
Yeah, it won't be easy for Houston traveling to Philly. That crowd is rowdy in Philadelphia. Those pitching matchups are pretty favorable for Philadelphia. They need to win at least 2 of these games to be in a really good spot because they've shown they can win on the road in Houston. Based on those pitching matchups, I feel really, really confident in Philadelphia, and the bats are red hot right now. Hoskins, Harper, Schwarber, I don't think Houston's going to be able to stop these guys. They're just red hot right now.
Kyle Schwarber hit a ball tonight that went 443 feet. I mean, the atmosphere in Citizens Bank Park is unbelievable. Ranger Suarez got the win in the game that clinched the World Series spot for the Phillies, then throws tonight and just shoves. I mean, the Phillies have been unbelievable the entire postseason.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see those next 3 games.
Both the New York Giants and the New York Jets fell on Sunday afternoon. The Giants went west and fell to Seattle 27-13, while the Jets failed to defend home turf against the Patriots with a final of 22-17. The two teams losing would have just been another Sunday last year, but it's a bit of a reality check to fans of the two squads that are now a combined 11-5. Zach, which of these 2 losses do you think means more to the fan bases?
I think the Giants' loss means a tiny bit more, and it's just based on the Giants need their wins when it comes outside of their division. The rest of the season, they play the Eagles twice, they're at Dallas, they play Washington twice, and they're at Minnesota. Of course, there's games in there against Houston as well as Detroit, but the expectations right now are way higher for the New York Giants versus the Jets, who lost Breece Hall and Elijah Vera Tucker last week.
So I think this sucks a little bit more for the Jets fans, just because you're going up against the Bills this upcoming week. The Giants going into the bye week, and at the end of the day, for both of these teams, they're playing with house money. Neither fan base thought that the Jets were going to be at 5 wins or the Giants would be at 6 at this point in the season. So right now, if you're a Giants fan, you're kind of just shrugging your shoulders about it because you got to 6 wins earlier. You're ahead of schedule already, and the Jets at 5, still a little ahead of schedule. But in terms of momentum, the Giants can stop it. The Jets just going into Orchard Park on this upcoming weekend is tough for them.
Staying in the NFL, the Philadelphia Eagles soared to 7-0 with a 35-13 win over the Pittsburgh Steelers on Sunday. It was a career day for Eagles star wide receiver A.J. Brown as he put up 156 yards and 3 touchdowns on just 6 receptions. According to FBI, the Eagles have a 70% or greater chance to win 9 of their 10 remaining games this season. Joey, looking at the NFC, who do you think poses the biggest threat to the Philadelphia Eagles?
First off, what A.J. Brown's been doing for the Philadelphia Eagles this year and the improvements Jalen Hurts has made has been unbelievable. I mean, you see the touchdowns here. The celebrations were through the roof against Pittsburgh. I'm not sure if we have the one where he just points at the guys on the double team. I hope that comes up here momentarily. But in terms of in the NFC, it's such a down year for Tom Brady and the Bucs, Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, usually the 2 front runners. The Rams are having a bad year as well. there's the double team. A.J. Brown's just been a dog. And then the NFC's just kind of open. I think the Seahawks are the toughest team with Geno Smith, but it still seems pretty wide open.
It's the Niners. We saw Christian McCaffrey with a full week of practice, and they didn't have Deebo Samuel. They torched the Los Angeles Rams in LA. It felt like they were in San Fran with how many fans were there for the 49ers. Garoppolo looked amazing. Kittle was great at tight end. The run game was great, but they added Christian McCaffrey.
After an overtime win for the Falcons and a Thursday night loss for the Buccaneers, Atlanta now holds first place for the NFC South. With all the distractions for Tom Brady, the division seems to be pretty wide open. Zach, do you think the Falcons finish this season at the end of do you think they finish the season at the top of the NFC South?
I do. I think the Falcons are the best team in the NFC South, and that's really not saying much how bad that division is. Probably the worst in football, but I don't believe in the Panthers, the Saints, or the Bucs. Say what you want about the Bucs. Tom Brady is pretty much all they have. Decimated on their offensive line. Shaq Barrett's now done for the season. The worst run game in football, or run game defense in football. I get it. Tom Brady, he's 45 years old. He's not going to come close to winning a Super Bowl. I don't think they win the division.
It's funny because usually the past few years, the laughing stock of football in the NFC has been the NFC East. And then you see that right now what the Giants and the Eagles are doing. The Washington Commanders have been solid as well, and the Cowboys as well. Thank you, Ben Diamond. I was blanking on the fourth team. But the NFC South right now, with just how wide open it is, like you said, the Bucs and Saints both having such bad years, this might be first team to win 8 games makes the playoffs, and it seems like that just might be the Falcons.
We're going to take a quick break here on Stick to Sports. Up next, we recap the weekend of college football and check in on the NBA season. Stay tuned on WTOP 10.
Hey guys, it's me, Isabella Gomez, filling in for Smokey Bear because he's got more to say than just...
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Like, if you're outside enjoying a barbecue, don't let a hamburger distract you from fire safety. Make sure you aren't dumping your hot coals or ashes onto the ground because that could start a wildfire. So take wildfire prevention seriously and let's save the world one day at a time. Juntos con Smokey Bear, podemos hacerlo. Go to smokeybear.com to learn more about wildfire prevention.
Welcome back to Stick to Sports in Happy Valley on Saturday. The number 2 ranked Ohio State Buckeyes defeated the number 13 ranked Penn State Nittany Lions 44-31. Penn State quarterback Sean Clifford had 4 crucial turnovers on the day as Ohio State put up 28 points in the fourth quarter. Marvin Harrison Jr. is an animal, putting up 185 yards on 10 receptions. Joey, thoughts on Ohio State after this win?
Ohio State and Penn State were in this game. It was pretty close, really, the majority of the way. I mean, you see a one-score game here in the fourth quarter before Ohio State was able to open it up just a little bit at the end. Ohio State didn't look extremely impressive. We'll get into it in a couple segments here about the college football playoff rankings, but they didn't overly impress me, especially in a win against a Penn State team that hasn't been special this year.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Ohio State, I'm just not a big believer in them this year. Offense is not what it was The offense this year is not what it was last year. They had Olave as well as Wilson last year. Now Smith and Jigba has been out with injuries. There's less weapons. They say the defense is very good. They have played 2 top 100 offenses. That was Notre Dame, who put up 10 points for them, and Penn State this past weekend, who had 4 turnovers at crucial points in the game. It's crazy to say, I think Alabama would beat Ohio State by multiple touchdowns this year. The number 3 ranked Tennessee Volunteers rolled over the number 19 ranked Kentucky Wildcats on Saturday. Tennessee won 44-6 in Knoxville behind 4 total touchdowns from quarterback Hendon Hooker. Tennessee wide receiver Jalen Hyatt was impressive again, going for 138 yards and 2 touchdowns on 5 receptions. The Vols were excellent on defense as well, holding Kentucky's offense to 98 passing yards and 3 interceptions. Joey, your expectations for the Vols as they get ready for Georgia?
8.5-point underdogs for the Vols at Georgia is disrespectful.
We'll get it on extra innings.
We will. What Tennessee's been doing this to rank teams, I mean, Tennessee has had, they have the number 1 strength of record in the country. They have a top 20 strength of schedule. They've beat teams like Kentucky, Alabama, Pittsburgh, Florida. I believe there's 4 or 5 ranked teams they've knocked off. The chances for a college football team to be 8-0 right now with the schedule they've had is 8%. The Vols have been unbelievable this year. Got to be feeling pretty good, especially with this college football playoff ranking out.
It was a statement game in the SEC. They absolutely destroyed Kentucky on the weekend. Hendon Hooker is a monster as well. The first official rankings for the 2022-23 college football playoff have been released. It's a great day on Rocky Top as Tennessee takes the top spot, followed by Ohio State, Georgia, and then Clemson. Joey, your reaction to these rankings?
I was fully prepared for it to go Georgia, Tennessee, Ohio State, 1, 2, 3. That's how I thought they were coming. Ohio State, with their strength of schedule, I thought it was going to hurt them. But Tennessee being number 1 and Georgia being down at 3 is pretty interesting. But at the end of the day, with the matchup coming up this weekend, this ranking doesn't matter too much because whoever comes out on top this weekend is going to be your number 1, presumably. But Tennessee's just been that impressive, and the committee's just valuing strength of record and strength of schedule.
Yeah, Tennessee deserves to be number 1. They beat Bama. They didn't just get by LSU. They beat the brakes off LSU. That's a big win. You already know my thoughts on Ohio State. Georgia stomped Oregon, but just edged by Missouri, and it's fair to have Clemson ahead of Michigan based on their top 25 wins.
After 1 week of the NBA season, the Lakers sit at 1-5 and 14th in the West, while the Nets are 2-5 and 12th in the East. While the season is still very young, both these teams are off to less than ideal starts in the 2 biggest markets on earth. Zach, which of these 2 teams are you more worried about through the first 7 days of the regular season?
Well, now after Steve Nash got fired, I'm definitely worried about the Nets. Well, I'll talk a little bit more about it with Ben in the fast break, but I didn't expect the Lakers to make the playoffs anyways. I actually had Steve Nash prediction to be my coach of the year. How about that one? That didn't work out well. But if you can't shoot in the NBA and expect Ben Simmons to come in and solve that problem, I mean, they're relying on KD and Kyrie with 32 and 30 points per game. They're not going to win that way. I think in the end, they probably did the right thing with letting go Nash.
Yeah, I think they did the right thing letting go of Nash. With all the distractions the past few days with Kyrie and adding Ben Simmons to the saga, I still don't get that move. You already have all the distractions with Kyrie and KD. What are you doing? But I'd personally just be more surprised about the Nets, definitely, because like you said, the Lakers, I didn't really have too high expectations for them in the first place. The Kawhi Leonard saga continues in Los Angeles as the Claw's still yet to start a game since tearing his ACL in the 2021 NBA playoffs. Leonard missed all of last season and has appeared in 2 of the Clippers' first 7 games this year. Leonard will not be traveling with the Clippers on the upcoming road trip to Texas, which will extend his absence to 6 consecutive games, and the soonest we will see the 5-time All-Star would be this Sunday the 6th against Utah. Zach, have we seen the last of Prime Kawhi?
I think we definitely have, and I'm gonna talk about the full screen that we have, but it's looking at Kawhi. He's a king at missing games. Steve Ballmer is not paying him $40 million just to sit on the bench. But he's missed 72 games, 22 games, 25 games, 30 games, and then he was out for the season. He's a king at missing games.
It's a lot of games, especially when you consider that's an 82-game season. That's a lot of games. I don't know if it's all knee or if it's some of it's mental or what it is, but yeah, it's been unbelievable. The Portland Trail Blazers are off to a surprisingly scorching hot start as Damian Lillard and the crew are off to 5-1 and sit on top of the West standings. Lillard is averaging an even 31 points per game, which ranks 6th in the NBA. Newcomer Jeremy Grant's adding nearly 16 points per night, and Yusuf Nurkic putting up 13 and 12. Zach, do you think the Trail Blazers will emerge as a title contender come June?
Not a title contender, but I think they'll be in the playoffs, especially if Damian Lillard is dropping 31 points per game like he is right now. Man is a monster. It's not just Dame, though. Anthony Simons, he's basically taking the C.J. McCollum role from a couple of years ago. He's averaging 20 a game as well. I think the addition of Grant is great for the scoring of the team, and Nurkic is top 3 in the league in rebounds.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anyone in the NBA more likable than Damian Lillard, and I don't think they're going to win the title, but at the end of the day, Jeremy Grant in that third scoring role, kind of what they needed in the C.J. McCollum days, and it's a big step in the right direction. We see it here early. We have to take a quick break, but when we come back here, Zach will be joined by Ben Diamond. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Stick to Sports right here on WTOP 10.
Put the keys down, Kevin.
But I'm gonna drive home.
There are several warning signs present that you shouldn't be driving.
I guess I have really been looking for love in this dating app. Yep, I'm definitely gonna call a ride home.
I think you could build a house here with how many bricks are being laid in this game.
That is a rapid nosedive, and it is at the point of no return, guys.
Welcome back to Stick to Sports. It's time for the fast break. Joining me now is Ben Diamond, one of our producers. Ben, what do you have for us tonight?
Thanks, Zach. As you guys mentioned before, after the starting the season off 2-5, the Brooklyn Nets have decided to move on from their second-year head coach, Steve Nash. Although Nash and the Nets made the NBA playoffs last season, they were booted by the Boston Celtics in the first round. Nash's Nets career was highlighted by many Kyrie Irving meltdowns and Ben Simmons refusing to play. The Nets have already found the possible replacement for Nash in former Celtics head coach Ime Udoka. The deal isn't finalized yet, but is expected to be done within the next couple of days. Zach, what do you think about this?
Yeah, I think it was the right move to let go of Steve Nash. And even though those records are pretty good, 48-24 and 44-38, losing and not winning a championship is the goal in Brooklyn. And 2-5, obviously, the start this year, they're 5th place in the Atlantic Division. But it's an interesting move if they do get Ime Udoka. It's obviously very controversial with Udoka getting suspended by the Celtics and not the NBA. I think he is a great coach in the end. He got his team to the NBA Finals last year. So if he is cleared to coach, great move by Brooklyn.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a really great move, regardless of what has gone off the court. But it really would be weird to see the coach of the Boston Celtics, who knocked the Nets out of the playoffs last season, now he's going to be the head coach of the Nets. And I think that going back to Nash really quickly, his lack of coaching experience really showed, and he wasn't really able to handle KD and Kyrie's egos very well. Moving over to the NFL. The NFL trade deadline has once again come and gone, as some teams geared up for deep postseason runs and have made their moves to bolster their rosters, while others bolstered their future draft capital. A few notable names traded before the trade deadline include Jeff Wilson and Bradley Chubb, who were both traded to the Dolphins, and TJ Hawkinson, who was traded within the division from the Lions to the Vikings. Among the other notable trades, Zach, which trade stood out to you the most, and which one do you think will have the biggest impact down the stretch?
I think it's the Dolphins getting Bradley Chubb, and they're the number 6 rushing defense in the NFL right now. They only got better by adding Chubb, as we see a lot of the trade acquisitions from the trade deadline this year. I think the Dolphins, looking back, the Dolphins made a trade in 2021 during the draft to get, with the 49ers. The 49ers ended up drafting Trey Lance. The Dolphins got 3 picks in return, 3 first-rounders. They've turned into Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, and Bradley Chubb. What great business by Miami.
Yeah, Miami's really done a great job, but I also want to focus on some other trades that went down. Calvin Ridley, who's been suspended this season from the Falcons for betting on his team, he's now with the Jaguars, and the Bills bolster their running game. Very good move for them, getting Nyheim Hines from the Colts, and I think that could be really big help down the stretch for the Bills. Moving over to the NCAA college football, Nolan Smith, a linebacker for the stacked Georgia Bulldogs defense, suffered a season-ending injury on Saturday. The injury being a torn pectoral muscle will require surgery, which he is supposed to undergo on Thursday. Smith has been seen as a possible first-round draft pick in the 2023 draft, but this injury may slide him down a bit. And with a huge matchup against Tennessee coming up this weekend, how do you think the Bulldogs will fare without Smith in the lineup?
It's definitely a big loss, no doubt. And he might slide in a lot of drafts, on a lot of draft boards. But I don't think it'll be too much. There's just way too much talent there. He's a great player. And it seems that Georgia's linebackers have just been unbelievable in the NFL in the recent past. But they have guys to replace him. Dumas Johnson as well as Mondon are already putting up great numbers for Georgia. It's going to be a tough game anyways against Tennessee.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see how they adjust. Because, I mean, as you said, it is still a very talented roster. Because, of course, it is Georgia. But then again, losing a piece like Nolan Smith, it's going to take some adjusting to get back to the top team that we know they are going forward into title contention.
And we'll take a quick break here on Stick to Sports. Thanks once again to Ben for the fast break. When we come back, Joey, Ben, and I will head into extra innings. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Stick to Sports on WTOP 10.
Hey guys, it's me, Isabella Gomez, filling in for Smokey Bear because he's got more to say than just...
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Like, if you're outside enjoying a barbecue, don't let a hamburger distract you from fire safety. Make sure you aren't dumping your hot coals or ashes onto the ground because that could start a wildfire. So take wildfire prevention seriously and let's save the world one day at a time. Juntos con Smokey Bear, podemos hacerlo. Go to smokeybear.com to learn more about wildfire prevention.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move, so I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
Welcome back to Stick to Sports. It is time for extra innings. So far in the standings, Joey and I are knotted at 9-3. We're better than Zach. That was terrible.
Boy, Betty T.
But Zach, you're in last at 8-4.
It's comeback season.
Celtics and Cavs are our first one for this week. Cavs are favored -134. Zach, who you got?
I'm going to go with the Celtics, and they just based on the depth. No Garland, no Darius Garland for Cleveland, even though Donovan Mitchell's a beast. I'm going Celtics.
Give me the Cavs. Donovan Mitchell's been balling, and if we're fading Zach Malamud, we're winning money. So.
This is a fantastic matchup. I really like this matchup. I'm going to go with the Cavs because I don't like Boston. I'm going to go with the Cavs. That's how we're going to go here.
These are the two guys that are 9-3, baby.
Wow.
Zach's got all the injury updates.
Now we're moving it over to, this is our wild card right here. We are going over to the Korean Baseball Organization, KBO. We're going to do the championship this series. The Kiwoom Heroes versus the SSG Landers. The Landers are -120. Joey, who you got winning this series?
You know what, Ben? I was going to take the team that Ivan Nova's on. I already forgot what team he's on.
The Landers,
Joey. He's on the Landers. Give me the SSG Landers. I mean, Ivan Nova's going to shove. His 6-point whatever ERA is going to come down.
I'm going SSG Landers, too. They're just the better team. We looked at the records
They're the
before
better
this.
team.
Hell yeah.
Y'all are nuts. We're going with the Kiwoom Heroes.
Wow.
Yasiel Puig is about to carry the Heroes to the promised land. They're going to get that sword, and it's going to be fantastic. Go Heroes. Moving over to number 2 Tennessee versus the number 1 Georgia in a closely rated game like this one. Georgia is -8.5. Joey, we're gonna have to go to you. We know.
I say it every week. It's the Vols, and y'all keep doubting it. So it's the Vols again. I mean, they roll over the best teams, and they're gonna do it again. So.
Hey, Joey P. Vols to the moon, man.
Let's go.
Vols to the moon.
Let's go, baby.
They can outscore every single team in the country.
Finally.
Vols to the moon.
I am gonna, just for the sake of argument, Georgia.
8.5-point dogs.
8.5 points. I think Georgia
that's
can
so
take
disrespectful.
it. I think
so
Georgia will take it. That's who we're going with. All right, Georgia's gonna win. Number 6 Alabama is a -13.5 favorite over number 15 LSU. Jack, who you got?
Yeah, they're 13-point favorites for a reason. They won't lose 2 games this season unless it's against either Tennessee or Georgia in the SEC championship. Roll Tide.
Bama's right on the outside of their playoff of that college football playoff picture that came out today. They're going to want to stay there and even bump up if Georgia or Tennessee embarrasses the other, they could possibly bump up. So, give me the Tide.
I agree. Alabama is going to take this one, especially with the spread being what it is. Alabama is going to take this one. Now, number 5 Clemson at -3.5 over Notre Dame. Who you got, Zach?
I'm going to go Clemson, and they're just the team with the more talent. And Notre Dame, even though they had a great win against Syracuse, sorry to our Syracuse viewers, it was a tough game. But Notre Dame came out victorious. I do think Clemson is the best team in the ACC. They've beaten so many teams in the top 25.
I think we've picked every game the same way, so I'm going to go with Notre Dame. I was originally on Clemson earlier, but we got to have some separation in the standings. We got to do something. Give me Notre Dame. I feel like there's some kind of backwards way that Bama sneaks their way into the playoff, and this could be a way. Maybe get 3 SEC teams in there. So give me the Irish.
I'm going to go with Zach. I'm going to go with Clemson in this one. I think just number 5 team. I mean, you can't really go against number 5 team. I mean, yes, Notre Dame's is a good program, but I'm going to go with Clemson on this one.
Yeah, I'm going to end up regretting that pick.
And our final one, Titans-Chiefs, -12.5 in favor of the Chiefs. Joey, who you got?
12.5 is a lot of points.
But
the Titans are bad.
Are they though? They're 5-2.
But are they starting Malik Willis again?
So we're doing money line, not spread, right?
It's money line.
Money line, Chiefs.
Yeah, it's Chiefs.
Chiefs.
But please take the Titans at plus 12.5. Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Is
Ridiculous. That's
that your best bet? Are we doing a throwback?
A throwback to best bets?
Yeah.
Plus 12. That is so disrespectful. I know the Chiefs are really good. I do want to give a quick shout out to my cousin Eric. He is watching right now. Shout out to you, Eric.
Shout out, Eric. And Zach's ready for some pizza rolls.
No, that's Joey.
You're
I'm ready for the
pizza.
Hot Pockets.
Hot Pockets pizza rolls.
Then what are you eating?
Hershey's
hungry.
Kisses.
It's 11 o'clock.
Hershey's Kisses.
Yeah.
11 o'clock.
Yeah.
11 o'clock.
Zach.
I got to wrap it up.
Let's do it.
That will do it for Extra Innings. That's all the time we have on today's episode of Stick to Sports.